Hello to everyone. I am called Mohamed Fupaponini. I am an agro-food processing engineer. How can we ameliorate our output? If we want to ameliorate our output, it means that there was something wrong. So this is how we are going to proceed to be able to ameliorate our output. The first thing that we have to have in mind is our objective. What was our objective? For instance, let me take an example of a crop that I would like to cultivate. Let me take papaya, Carica papaya. No. Let me take maize, Zei maïsa. I have my objective of producing, maybe I'm in Cameroon, I have my objective of producing, let me say, 7 tons of maize per hectare. That's my objective. If at the end I have like 2 tons, 3 tons, it means that there was something wrong because it is possible to produce 7 tons of maize in Cameroon. So the first thing I will have to do is that I will need to identify the factors that will enter into my project. What are the factors that can influence my output? If I realize that some of the factors, as we listed the other time, we have the owner of the project, myself, the interaction I have with my project, the method I'm going to use, the milieu, the management, commercialization, the inputs, and the laborers that will be working, whether I will be working in cooperative or I will be working alone, the equipment, and also at the level of processing. These are the 10 factors that can influence my project. So if these 10 factors can influence my project and I realize that I could not attain my objective of producing 7 tons, it would therefore mean that one of these factors may not have been done properly. So how am I going to ameliorate it? I'm going to have here as factor. I'm going to have here as score. There is something very important that we have to accept. You will not be able to solve everything the first year. That is why we always advise people to start agriculture in smaller hectares of land rather than going into larger areas. It will be very easy for you to learn something when it is small, then you increase the number of hectares progressively. That's the idea behind it. Another thing is that when we talk about output per hectare, this does not mean the amount of output that you have on a given land. No. If, for instance, I'm using 2 hectares and I have like, let me say, 10 tons of maize, and you are using 4 hectares and you have 10 tons of maize like me, I am more than you because I make use of a smaller piece of land and I have a higher output as compared to you. So what I will do is that, excuse me, these are the factors that are going to intervene and I'm going to give them a score. One thing is sure, I will first of all start by evaluating myself. Maybe I had 2 tons of maize. What happened? I am inside the project. Maybe I may have done certain things that are not okay, that will make my project to fail. What are the particular things that I can do for my project to be successful? Maybe at the level of paying workers, maybe at the level of providing the inputs, maybe at the level of let me talk of my aptitude, my punctuality, and the way I control them. If I realize that I did certain mistakes, I may happen to evaluate myself of a 5. I can say, okay, let me say I have like 1/5. This is at the level of evaluation that I have like 1/5. All these things are not working well. That I have 1, let me say, over 5. That's one thing. I move to the next thing, which is the type of farming method that we use. There are many farming methods that we may have used, but if I realize that the type of farming method that I use, maybe I use let me talk of let me say biofertilizers. The way I use the biofertilizers, or maybe I did tilling of the soil, preparation of land, I'll try to evaluate it. Was it done properly? I can even go on YouTube and Google and see the way it is being done, or ask to certain people that succeeded in having the 7 tons. I'll then say maybe the work that we did was like, let me say, 3/5. Now then move to the environment. The environment of the milieu here will have to do with certain things like climatic condition, the road, the farm to market road. If I realize that maybe the farm to market road was somehow far, it would therefore mean that I will have to spend more money to be able to bring my produce to the market. And if I have to spend more money to bring my produce in the market, it will be more difficult. Another thing is that I may even have a road, and during the rainy season, people will refuse to go and to carry my produce. So what do I have to do? I will then have to evaluate the road. If I realize that maybe because of the road, maybe I was during the rainy season, I can say maybe I have like 2/5. I then move at the level of management. How do I manage the workers? How do I put those things? Do I have actually a work plan? Am I punctual? Are everything organized? Is everything being okay? How do I listen? Do I listen to them? I will then evaluate myself going up to commercialization. I'll enter the level of input. At the level of input, did I use hybrid seeds or I just use the normal seeds? These are little things that I'll have to take. If I use fertilizers, did I make sure to check at the expiry date of those bags? Was it actually okay? Now, the type of, let me say, insecticides and fungicides that I made use of, how was it? I will then try to evaluate it. When I would look at all these factors that are entering into my project, I'll evaluate them and grade them. When I'm going to grade them, I'll go where I have the least score. Let me precise something. This is just like the method of Pareto that we made use of it, but has nothing to do with Pareto. We are just the one that make use of Pareto to be able to come out with this. And what you are seeing here resembles the work being done by Ishikawa presentation, but this is just an idea that we took from him to be able to come out with this. So after evaluating myself, I'll go where I have the least score for the first year. Why? If I'm the problem that I have 1/5, the next year I can make an objective that I'm going to work on myself, maybe, and work at the level of the type of input. I can allow the other ones. If I ameliorate it, one thing is sure is that I'm going to move from these 2 tones to, like, let me say 2.5 tones. This is how I'll be upgrading and learning and upgrading till the day I'll be able to reach these 7 tones. Maybe if I reach at the level of synergy, that I was working alone, I never had a cooperative to be able to, like, talk or consult the people of my community doing the same activity with me, so that we should be able to, like, see how to ameliorate conditions so that we can be able to sell easier and gain more. I'll then think of what to do. Then I'll evaluate all of these things. If I do like this approach, what I will do is that, why am I going at the lowest score? I'm going at the lowest score because if I succeed in resolving this problem, I'm sure that the output is going to increase the more. But if I go, for instance, that I realize that, let me say I have a route that was not too bad, but a little bit bad. Cars can pass in it, and I happen to, like, go and arrange, but the road, it will not have more impact as compared to if I did not use proper seedlings for my farm. So I think that this is an approach that we can use, and if you use these things very well, you can either have a success, and if you use them poorly, you are going to have a failure. So I think that this is how we have to do. In the nutshell, what I was trying to say is this: for you to ameliorate things, you have to look at the factors that enter into your project. You evaluate each factor. After evaluating each factor, you grade them and work on the factors that you realize that impacted your project more negatively. Once you be able to solve that, then you are going to ameliorate your productivity. As you can see, these factors that I'm presenting like this are just what we realize that usually affect most of our project. You may be in a different country. Let me talk of Botswana, Nigeria, Ghana, and you have factors that are particular and peculiar to your agroecological zone where you are. We want to thank you for supporting us. If you have more questions, you can ask, and I will appreciate that. If you love this video, you can like it and share to other people. Thank you.